Good
Hey,
morning.
how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
Good. We've got the chat going here.
Okay.
We're live, just to let you know.
Good, good.
Looks like Daniel Gavura went to Minnesota. Daniel, my son, we were watching the game last night, and we had a free weekend, which is really rare for us. No soccer game, no work for me, and he was like, "Why aren't we there right now?" I was like, "You know what? I don't know. Why didn't we go? We could have gone." He was really
Uh,
disappointed. So well done getting up there. I want to see the stadium too. Oh, okay. Well, Santiago, we are live, but I mean, this isn't a secret kind of thing anyway. I was thinking about just sharing the link for people to join us and bring them in, but
mm,
I didn't know if you had an idea of how to go with this. Maybe we do a very fast, light breakdown of what happened and then kind of open it up for discussion. What do you
yeah, yeah, I think that will work.
Okay. So I'll try to get through that in like 20 minutes max, maybe
Yeah,
less.
yeah. And I don't think it was Daniel who was there. It was Aaron Leak.
Oh yeah, sorry, Aaron. Annie and Daniel, sorry. Daniel was saying, oh yeah, so it was Daniel and Avo talking about the off season. So,
Oh yeah, it will be an interesting off season for sure.
mhm.
And I agree with Avo, and I have said this in other spaces.
Mm.
The team needs to bring some players in the winter transfer window for sure.
Mm. I don't think they'll rest on their laurels, though. I will say that because I think I really enjoyed Hackworth's City Voice the other day, and it was like the main thing he talked about with Lutz was that he's never happy.
Right.
He's constantly working and demanding things from his staff. It sounds like
Hmm.
if I were to read between the lines there. So,
Yeah. Well, but I think that's what didn't work this season. Like, yeah, the team brought three players in January, but I think the team was confident that with the team that finished the 2023 season, 2024 was gonna be good.
mm,
And when the summer transfer window came, it was too late. The team was already in a big hole.
that is well said. If I think of it in that light, you're absolutely right. Abo, you too. We'll have to bring that up. We should just start because we're already gonna rehash good stuff. So we'll go live and
Good
kick it off.
stuff. I don't know.
I think so. All right, I'm gonna hit record and we'll go. You okay? You ready, Santi?
Yeah, yeah, I'm ready. Is my video okay? I'm having issues with internet, so
Yes, everything's
okay,
great so far. So
okay, great.
here we go. Welcome everyone to a flyover fallout version of Flyover Footy. We are presented by Noble Ice Vineyards, and it's going to be a special, fun episode. Or we're going to make the best of it, I guess is the way I should say that. I'm Phil Grooms, and Santiago Beltran is here to join me. Santi, how you doing this morning?
Doing great, Phil. Just a weird feeling after the last game of the season. Obviously, a game the team didn't have anything to play for, but still, it's just that feeling like, oh, season is over.
Mm.
Now, not going to practices or pressers or things like that. So just enjoy. I'm going to enjoy the break for sure.
Me too. Me too. It's been hot and heavy with Matt gone. He does so much, and then it's blatantly obvious when he's gone. And so, I'm actually looking forward to the break. After hopefully, I'm sure we'll get one more really solid show in, and then maybe take it easy a little bit. And yes, we're gonna hit this hard today. That City Two has a playoff game today at 2 o'clock on Sunday, depending on when you're listening to this. So I intend to go. Are you gonna go to that, Santiago?
Still in the air. We have some people visiting from Indianapolis. We're going to a
Mhm.
concert tonight, so it will be up to them. If they want to go, we'll go. If not, we'll do something else. I just hope that if I don't go, City Two wins, so I can go next week.
Yes, understandable, absolutely, and I have a good feeling about tonight. I think they've been on such a good run, much like I guess Minnesota has been, which is what we're going to talk about this morning. But I will say we're going to stick with us if you're in the chat, and even if you're not, we're going to have a chat heavy show, which was Santiago's idea, and I love it. We're going to run through the game quickly. I'm not going to hit nearly as much as I have been. And then we're going to open it up to the chat. I'm even going to put the link to join us, and we're going to test that out today. So no promises on how perfect it'll work, but it'll be really great. If you guys are in the chat, I'll post the link. You can click on it, and I can bring you in and put you back out, just like a radio show if it works correctly. So we'll give that a try today, and I really want to see some faces and hear some voices today. I look forward to that. So let's open up the Fallout with the lineups as usual. St. Louis had Berkey in goal, Totland, Kessler, Nilsson, Horn across the back. Watts and Leuven were at the double pivot. Toykert and Hartle playing as tens as the way that we've been drawing it up lately. Betcher and Klaus as the strikers in a 4-2-2-2. Let me pull up the other lineup. So Minnesota lined up with Dane St. Clair, the Canadian goalkeeper, in goal. Harvey at right back, Boxall and Diaz playing center back, Rosales at left back, Trapp and Dotson at the double pivot. Shoot, I'm gonna mess up his name because it's not showing all the way. At right mid,
Kyle.
Robin Lode. Sorry, go
Hmm.
ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Robin Lode at the 10, Pereira at the left wing, and Yaboa at striker. So those are, especially the names up top, were names that are going to sound very familiar based on what happened in this game. Santiago, any thoughts on the lineup? There's kind of a lot to hit here.
Yeah, no. I wasn't. Well, I thought there were gonna be maybe some players that had not had a lot of minutes. Maybe give them a chance to get minutes. But at the same time, when I saw the lineup, I was like, well, this is a lineup without surprises. Like Akil Watts has been playing at that double pivot role for a couple of games now. But I was really expecting to maybe see some guys who had not had a lot of minutes this season. But at the same time, I think the team just wanted to go for it and this season in a high note. Maybe try to get to that 10th position if
Mm-hmm.
Austin and Dallas didn't get a result, but in the end, didn't work that way. So I was surprised, but not surprised.
Agree. I think I was leaning toward ending on a high note. It seemed like in the press they were kind of mentioning that they wanted to really push for this game for a win, excuse me. And I thought Hackworth probably wanted to show that he was able, put in the best foot forward to kind of look good as a coach. And I think this was his best 11 based on who was available. I think the biggest thing to notice was it sounded like Durkin was going to make it in this game, and he didn't. So that was really sad to see. He couldn't play in this game. I do wonder what the game would have looked like if he had played.
Yeah, and I think at that point, because he was with the team this week, and Hackor said he was back, and it was the first time that he had everybody in practice except Celio and Tomas Ostrak, just because they are still in season-ending injuries. But I think why risk a player last game of the season if you're not playing for anything? And I think that's the approach that the team took.
Mm-hmm. Agree. The last thing to say about that is that Klein, Kijima, and Wenzel were all held out. So there was
Mhm.
rumors that they might be in the lineup, or at least on the bench. I mean, um, and that they could play in that game as a sub and still play in the City 2 playoff game today, as we said on Sunday. And they were not in the game day roster. So they will be fresh for the playoff game today against LAFC 2. Let's get in the game flow. Right in the third minute, it was a bit of a slow start. Sometimes you get a really fast start. Today or yesterday, in the third minute, we saw the first of many counterattacks from very fast counterattacks from Minnesota, and it looked like they were going to be looking for Pereira or Yaboa on those counterattacks as the outlet. In this case, it was Yaboa who got in behind Kessler, who was kind of even with him catching up a little bit. It was a scary tackle in the box that the ref didn't really make any motions about a foul or anything, but much later, I mean, what, 20, 30 seconds later or more, they stopped play, not in like a normal, an easy spot to stop play. They just stopped the play, had a
Hmm.
VAR check, and it ended up being negative, but that was a scary moment. In the replay, I thought it was a foul. What did you think?
No, no,
Okay.
I don't think it was a foul. I just think it was a soccer play, two players trying to get the ball, and I think they touch each other, but not like in a way of trying to foul. Just the way you moved your body to get the ball and try to get the position. But I don't think there was a foul there.
Is it silly of me? I was like, oh no, VAR started. First half of the season, that would have been a foul. It feels like since League's Cup, St. Louis's luck has changed a little bit.
Yeah, luck has turned around a little bit, but yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, bar never works for City, so here we go. There is a PK coming, and Roman Berg is gonna get a
Yeah,
PK, like
exactly.
a true PK save. I know he saved one against Atlanta, but then Daniel Rios ended up getting the rebound and scoring. So I was like, well, maybe an opportunity to see first Berkey's true PK save, but we're gonna have to wait until next season.
I love it. That positivity. That's some good stuff. In the 12th minute, Rosales this time is 1v1 versus Totland. This is the other theme. I think there were two themes on Minnesota's attack, and one was getting Totland 1v1 against somebody. And this happened early and often. And it did get better, as we'll cover here very quickly. But he beat Totland. Totland usually does a great job. This is the one time in recent history that I've seen Totland get just out and out beat. And pardon me, Rosales crosses it into the far post. Yeboah slides and almost gets to it. If he had gotten anything on that, it would have been a goal at the far post. So that was the second 1v1 against Totland in this game. He won versus Yeboah the first time. And so this was the only time he got fully beat. So there's that. We'll cover a few more of those. In the 15th minute, we got to admit that beautiful work from Minnesota United in the box. It was another kind of quick break. Rosales versus Totland, who bottled him up a little bit. But then he got it out to Load. I misspelled that. Who quickly sent it back into Rosales. Just a beautiful give and go inside the box. It was tight. It was decent defense. It was just really good play, I thought, from Minnesota in this one. This was a massive save from Berkey.
Yeah.
This was the biggest one of the game, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to take this opportunity quickly to say I looked at some of Berkey's stats for goalkeeping stats. I just want to compare 23 to 24 since this is the last game really quickly. 123 saves last season, 100 this season. That sounds kind of nice,
Mm.
doesn't it? But wait, save percentage last season, 78.5%. Save percentage this season, 67%. Um,
67.
yes. So that's a big difference. 8 clean sheets last year, 7 this year. So those are the big ones, right? And I don't think any of that matters that much. Don't you feel like none of that is on Berkey and all of that, most of that is on St. Louis?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think there may be one or two when maybe he had something to do with it during the season, but overall, yeah, I don't think it's him. It's just defense wasn't there. Injury bug, obviously,
Fair.
impact had a big impact, and then I think after the League's Cup break, when Tim Parker left, and also combined with some injuries, you could see that you needed something else at center back. And yeah, just the defense for the whole season wasn't there, either due to injuries or Tim Parker leaving. Kyle Hewer was also with the Canadian team for about a month or even longer.
True.
So just the defense never clicked, and there wasn't a consistent lineup for the whole season.
And I would say that has been one obvious weakness in the rebrand, not the rebrand, but the under Hackworth. A lot of things have gotten better. One of the things that hasn't been totally fixed is the defense. It's just never really stood out as a strength. So that's something to think about as we talk about the offseason here at the end of the show. Skip through here. Klaus got a chance to chip the keeper. It was a fun one. You never know from really far away, but didn't happen.
I got excited like for 1 second, and I was like, "Oh no!"
You got to try sometimes. I like it.
Yeah,
In the 20th minute, this is the first goal for Minnesota United. Load scores on exactly just like quick passing, quick movement. Interesting one. Like Leuven kind of dove in at the turnover on the midfielder who had the ball and he missed. And that player passed it kind of past Watts. And then that person passed it in behind a Yoboa with a running, behind him, Kessler for the millionth time. So, and just something to look at there. They passed through us.
yeah.
Would that have looked different with Durkin? I think it's a fair question. Watts brings a lot of strengths, but I'm curious what that would have looked like. What do you think, though? Do you want to say anything on that one?
Yeah, no, just Minnesota, very quick on the transition, and yeah,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, like St. Louis, trying to get the ball back high on Minnesota's field, and a lot of times that works. But I think Minnesota had a good game plan and knew quick passing could break that high press from City, and then they were very effective in those transitions through the middle. And yeah, your point about Dorkin not being there, what will have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know, but yeah, Minnesota um, had a good game plan, trying to go quick transitions through the middle, and you saw that on most of the goals.
Twickert, a little bit after this, had what looked like was supposed to be a cross that hit the far post that was on replay looked incredibly close. So that
Yeah.
was an interesting one. Um, Skipping ahead. Oh, here's a really cool one. 34th minute, a really fun one from Berkey. I love when he does this. Minnesota had a chance, and Berkey gets his hands on it and just slams it to Hartle on the run. The chance didn't pan out, but it was a wasted opportunity. It would have been, Betcher was on his horse. He was running hard. Nothing came from it. But anyway, that was really awesome. And then Minnesota kind of came back, got a cross in the box. It was a chance. Berkey saved it. So just again, a chance for St. Louis, and then just immediately another counterattack from Minnesota. Um, Klaus gets a shot in the box. It's not all that great, but he swivels
Mm.
his hips very nicely to kind of get in there. Totland around this time seems to kind of get very confident and looks like his old self and is shutting things down. Um, I won't dig into that more. I have a lot of notes here I need to skip through. Again, in the 38th minute, just noting Yeboah in behind, another counterattack kind of thing. Rosales gets shut down by Totland shortly after that in the 39th minute. In 40th minute, this was an interesting adjustment I saw that was just individual adjustments from what I could tell. You could see Totland getting a little bit more help every single time. I think earlier I noticed that Watts kind of came in to help Totland, and it was much more taken care of on the left flank of Minnesota, our right flank. In the 40th minute, you see three defenders around Yeboah. So this isn't 1v1. There ends up being three players. So we see an individual, heck, we're talking about he likes players who can solve problems in game. And so we see players kind of solving problems themselves, assumably. And he escapes just barely and gets the ball to the top of the box, and they get a good chance because since there's three defenders on one side, there's almost nothing on the other side. So that was dangerous. It was a professional response from Minnesota to what I thought was a professional response from St. Louis. Didn't happen. Nothing came of it. Just something to note there. Players trying to solve problems and the progression of that throughout the game. 43rd minute, Horn sends a long ball in. Betcher gets his head on it. It's a weak shot. Otherwise, it was on goal. 44th minute, Hartle starts dropping in deep to try to make more plays. So that's something to take of note. It does look like that helps a lot. But that's kind of the last thing before the half. Any thoughts on some of those before we kind of talk about some halftime stats?
Yeah, no, I noticed Hardell dropping back a little bit, which is, I don't know if that's good or not, because yeah, he's trying to get something, build something, but at the same time, he shouldn't be dropping back um, that much. But yeah, making adjustments and yeah, 1-0 into halftime. Berkey made a couple of good saves. Could have been a higher scoring game from Minnesota. They missed some, Berkey saved some, but in the end, I thought, well, the team can regroup, maybe make some adjustments. One thing I didn't like, and I want to hear your thoughts about it. I just don't know if having Klaus and Becher as two number nines is really working, and especially because I felt like that impacted Toy Chart Toy Chart's play. Like I
Mm.
at times I felt like him and Klaus were like on the same space.
That does make sense because I was gonna say, does Klaus running behind? Like, I think he needs a partner like Betcher who is just constantly pushing the back line. And I think that's a really good thing. I don't think the question is Klaus and Betcher. I think you nailed it. I think it's Klaus and Teukert. Like when Alm is in, he's pushing the back line, and
Hmm.
so they don't get in each other's way at all. And Hartle is a different kind of player than Klaus in a lot of ways. So I think that's a really good thing to notice, Santiago, and maybe something to watch for next year. Or I don't know, because I don't think we're going to lose any of those players. We will have
Right.
Klaus, we'll have Betcher at least for a while. We'll have Teukert. So I don't know.
Yeah, just need to figure out the best way to use them if you're gonna have the three in the lineup. And yeah, to your point, it's not like Klaus and Becher don't work well together. My point was like Klaus was taking some of the
Yeah.
space where you usually see Toyshar, and then he was like too far right, and he's usually better when he's in the middle.
Robert Klar says, with the tactics that Minnesota employed, we need to play more of an aerial game to best utilize Klaus and Betcher. Yeah, it's a good point. I don't think we saw a lot of long balls to Klaus, did we? Not as much as we saw in the previous game against Houston. Maybe a game plan thing. At the halftime, I thought, I wanted them to figure out that 1v1 problem. Minnesota was doing the same thing over and over. And so I wanted them to figure that out. I thought they did. I thought they addressed that, and it was much more solid defense in the second half from St. Louis. Or Minnesota wasn't pushing as hard. Could have been either because they did have the goal. But figuring out a way to be dangerous in the attack, that was something that I remember feeling at the half was not happening, though it is only 1-0 when you're away. That's not the end of the world. First half stats, XG was Minnesota 0.95, St. Louis 0.23, 9 shots to 6. Shots on goal, St. Louis had more, 3-2. But the possession was 35% to 65%. And we knew that both teams were going to want to cede possession. And I had a feeling St. Louis might get more. With the goal, it cemented the fate, right? They were going to have more possession.
But that was very high. When I saw it, I was like, wow,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I felt like just the way the game developed, I was like, well, St. Louis didn't create much on offense, so I was surprised when I saw those numbers. But yeah, Minnesota is that type of team that will give you the ball and then play the counter attack. But yeah, it was a very high number for City, and just not a lot came out of it.
Mm-hmm. 47th minute looked like something was planned right during halftime. It was one of the better plays from St. Louis in the game. Leuven had a big switch to Totland from the left to the right. And then it was a back, kind of a trailing pass to Teukert. And then he sent it back into Totland running to the end line, who did a cutback pass to Klaus. It was blocked out for a corner. That was a great chance. Maybe the best chance of the game. I can't remember if I'm forgetting other things, but good work from St. Louis. Seemed like a halftime adjustment there. Anything you want to say there, Santiago?
No, no, that was a good start of the half,
Mm.
and I was hopeful that maybe things will change. But after that, it was more of the same. A lot of possession, but not much in terms of chance creation.
Chance creation here. We got a free kick outside the box, several yards, maybe 15 yards. Really good Leuven area, but it was taken by Hartle. This is like the 50th minute or so. And just a really well planned free kick, set piece kind of thing that was sent to the far post and headed across. It was, oh no, sorry. Hartle sent it short. He sent it back. Whoever that was sent it back to the back, and then they crossed it to the far post, where it was well covered, but it was a good idea. Then Horn had a throw in that was dangerous, a long throw. So that's something to be watching for. Horn's been doing that lately. That's something that Justin Horniker pointed out. Another Yeboah in behind in the 55th minute, but it wasn't nearly as dangerous. Is kind of what I was getting at there. It looked like a good defensive adjustment there. Klaus putting in a great effort. Horn Nilsson and Yeboah getting into battles. It starts getting a little bit chippy in the midfield. We see Berkey get the ball away in the 61st minute, and it was an interesting one from St. Louis because it was back passes and Berkey passed it really well to someone, and it was a series of like 6 passes of just barely getting the ball away before the defender hits them. And it's just a series of on-running St. Louis players getting the ball to the next guy, to the next guy, to the next guy, all the way down. And it got to the very last moment where someone was wide open on the far post. I feel like it was Hartle. And if that ball had gotten to him, it would have been at least a shot on goal, if not a goal. But it was blocked out by the center backs nicely from Minnesota. Kessler Dark Arts in the 66th minute. I enjoyed that against Yeboah, kind of drawing a foul and a yellow for Yeboah. 67th minute. Here's a sub. The first sub from Minnesota. It was Fragapane on for Pereira. Oluwaseyi goes on for Load. I said his name wrong. I apologize. And then Jung Song Bin on for Yeboah. And immediately they score. And
I know.
they score, and those 3 are the ones that touch the ball for the goal. It was Tani assisting Sung Bin on the far post.
That's crazy. My first thought when I saw that 3-man substitution, I was like, wow, they have depth.
Yes,
And it showed on the goal
it did.
right away.
It did. Every one of those players were dangerous. In fact, it almost felt like maybe they upgraded some of their positions when they subbed in, not downgraded like you often see. So, boy, those players looked really good against us. Now, I will say that Hackworth said in the post game that at this point they were starting to send players forward. So we were opening up the game, and that's what Minnesota wanted. They got it immediately. But that said, in the 74th minute, we see St. Louis doing basically their best impression of what Minnesota has been doing this entire game. Hardo to Klaus on the left, who is in open space, 1v1. Cut back pass to Hartle running in late. And Hartle's the one who gave the pass and then ran forward. So Hartle to Klaus. Klaus sends it back to Hartle, and Hartle gets a goal. Looked really good. This is the kind of goal we want to see from St. Louis more often. So what do you think about that, Santiago?
Well, the team was going for it, bounced back after that goal. And at that point, I was like, oh, this maybe there is a chance and we will see a comeback and least another draw to end the season in that note. But then Minnesota reacted very quickly and it was over.
Mm-hmm. Just to say it, Hartle in 9 games has 810 minutes, 3 goals, and 5 assists at this point. A goal every 3 games and an assist every other game. So that is an incredible rate. He's good,
Yeah.
guys. So that's something that to feel good about for next year.
Yeah, and not only him. And
Yes.
I don't have these numbers in front of me right now, so I'm gonna do it from memory. When I was um, preparing for the game yesterday, the last 25 goals before yesterday, the last 25 goals City has scored. 17 of those goals have come from Hardell, Betcher, and Toychar. They have been involved either with scoring or with an assist.
Nice. So yeah, those 3 are in, right? Like maybe we need to figure out how they work together perfectly, but there's not a problem there per se.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to cover much in the end here. The only weird one was like there was a soft counterattack, and the third goal, it was out for a corner, and the corner was looked like it was going to be handled by Klaus, and he kind of just barely missed it. And I think Kessler thought he had it and accidentally knocked it in on an own goal. It felt very fluky.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. I feel bad for Kessler, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. And the sad thing is that that was the third goal that went that way, not the fourth, because it felt like there was still a possibility at 2-1. So this made it 3-1. In the 82nd minute, Minnesota United gets another really similar counterattack. Songbin on the far post makes it look far too easy. At this point, it feels like things have unraveled. Yes, players are forward, so maybe that's the answer here. Last thing I'll say, 85th minute, Marcanic came on. So we traded him to Minnesota, and he came in this game. He started the last game for Minnesota, so he won't be their starter. They've got an incredible left back that they're happy with, but he is getting minutes and earning his place, and I'm happy to see that for him.
Yeah, yeah, that was good to see Marcanic playing and playing against City. I was just hoping, oh, I hope he doesn't score. But yeah, it's good to see him getting some minutes. He was a good player for City, but obviously City had other ideas at that position and ended up trading him.
Agree. I'm posting the link here. So that's the end of the game, right? 4-1. And I'm posting the link in the chat. So if you are in the chat, click that link and I can bring you in. We'll start by just kind of give us a thought or a question and we'll talk about it for a bit. We'll give you kind of one last thing to say before we go and we'll sign you off. Just we want to make sure everybody gets a chance. If this doesn't, if there's not a bunch of people waiting in line, we'll just maybe bring you on full time. Who knows? We'll see how this goes. I think it'll be fun. And do feel free to throw things in the chat as well. We can read those. In fact, bring back Tim Parker on X says, with more chemistry next year, hopefully they'll be firing on all cylinders, talking about, I assume what you were talking about there, Santiago, between Betcher, Toykert,
Yeah.
and Hartle. And maybe Klaus needs to get on the board somehow.
Yeah,
And
you just need to find a way to use all those players. Obviously, when Toyshard, Becher, and Hardell came, Klaus was still injured. So yeah, you still need to
true.
develop some chemistry between all those guys and figure out a way to not have Klaus and Toyshard get on each other's way.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so no one has signed on. So we will read off some of the stats.
Yeah.
In the end, it ended up having 57% possession to 42. So that did improve in the second half somehow. I actually thought it was going to go up based on what was going on. 15 shots for Minnesota to 12 St. Louis. 5 shots on goal to 5 shots on goal. Interesting one there. What else are we worried about here, Santiago? Oh, expected goals 3.4 from Minnesota to 0.9 to St. Louis. So in this case, XG was pretty darn spot on, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, let me bring it back. I was looking at the passing network that
Hmm.
MLS statistics and analysis usually puts out there because I wanted to see where Klaus was, and yeah, you can see. I think he's overlapping with somebody, but yeah, he's not at top. He's more like towards actually I see him now, but yeah, he's more like you see Becher all the way, like he's the last player.
Yes.
But then you see Klaus, right center forward, kind of midfield, and then you have both Hartel and Toyshard there. So that kind of goes in line with what I was saying, that they were all kind of in the same space.
They really were. Um, so that is what it is. Michael Miller says, what are your thoughts about Horn's quality? Will he be our starter next year? What do you think?
Mm, that's I think it's a small sample size. One thing I have noticed, and maybe this is you need chemistry, you need practice, you need to have more games with your teammates. But sometimes I noticed that his crosses are not the best. He had some that he actually got an assist in a previous game, but um, the crosses have not been great. And another thing I have noticed at times is that when the team has a chance to continue going forward, he has the ball and then he sends the ball back to one of the center backs. But I think that will develop with game time and more training. It's just a small sample size so far, but I think it will be a good competition between him and Jaden Reed, assuming the team brings back Reed next year.
I think you nailed it. He isn't adventurous going forward, but I will say he is a plus defender on the left wing. So I think he's very good and he gives us a solid base. Um, and he's okay going forward. But Jaden Reed is quite good going forward. We get good crosses from him, especially if he does a low cross on the ground. It's my favorite thing from him. He can beat people on the dribble. He's tricky. He's a baller, like he has that mentality that he's going to beat people, whether he's defending or attacking. But he gets caught out way more than Horn. So just to kind of compare those two, I could see Horn staying on long term, and I could see maybe Lutz looking for a higher end attacking left back. That's a theme I want
Mm.
to dig into pretty hard, and I think we'll have time today. And if not, we'll do it in another episode, I'm sure. But we do have other questions, so I want to hit those. Um, Daniel Gavura says, "Do you think Kessler and Nilsson are our set center back pairing?"
Mm.
Daniel, I saw your other question, but I want to do this one first. What do you think, Santiago?
So we were talking about it last night on the broadcast, and it looks promising, but the caveat there is Nilsson staying healthy. If he stays healthy and he can be a reliable starter, I think will be a good pairing. Not sure if the team will look at bringing another center back just to have as a backup or as another option in case Nilsson continues missing games due to injury. But so far, I like what I have seen from them. Obviously, need more game time and training together. But I think that could be a good pairing if you bring another quality center back just to
Mm-hmm.
get the competition going and have another option. Or even if you want to play with three in the back, you will have options. But yeah, I like it. It just depends on Nilsson staying healthy, which in these 2 seasons he has missed a lot of games. I was actually surprised that the team was using him in this last part of the season just because there was nothing to play for. Obviously, he wanted to be back, he wanted to play, but I don't know. When every time I saw the lineup, the last 2 games, I was like, mm, I hope he doesn't get injured. Like it will be too bad to get injured at the end of the season when you don't have anything to play for.
Yeah. Well said there. I think we're in a tough spot because I do think if we thought Kessler and Nilsson were going to be healthy, both of them, 3/4 of the season or more, I think that's fine. That's great. You rely on Hebert as a backup and, spot starts from Yarrow. But do we rely on that? Did the wisdom teeth thing work so far? It seems to have
Right,
worked.
right.
But that's scary to me. But if you bring in a third center back that is a higher quality than Hebert, maybe a little less than Nilsson, and he doesn't play very much, that's scary too. They're in a tough spot there.
Hmm.
So great question. And I think that's center back is pretty high, I think, on people's list of
Yeah.
what you'd like most in the offseason. So that's one to track. We're going to bring in our first listener. We'll call it a listener. Winter83 on YouTube. What's if you don't mind, share your name and where you live, like your
Hi, can
neighborhood or your county.
can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I hear you.
Okay, good. My name is Jennifer, my real name,
Nice.
and I live in Overland, so I'm not too far out.
Great. Yeah. What's your
Uh,
comment or question?
I just want to ask: do you guys think that Hackworth has done enough to get the job, the full job?
Yeah, and so Daniel asked that as well. Like, and he
Oh, I
asked
didn't see
like
it.
Oh no. Let's just add it to the conversation. He's asking also like how soon do you think they'll announce it? So Santi, I'll give you the first crack.
Oh my God, that's a tough position to put me in. I I don't think so. Especially with last night's showing. Um, I don't think he will be the coach for the 2025 season, but maybe the team has different ideas. I know he's one of the candidates in consideration, but just the way the season ended with yesterday's loss, and yeah, the team was really good after Leagues Cup. Like the first 4 or 5 games were really good, but you could see the level dropping a little bit the last few games, and the team getting back to some of those tendencies, trying to use the long ball too much. I like what I saw after Leagues Cup. The first 4 or 5 games, the team was trying to get more possession and be proactive when he had the ball. But the last few games, I think it went back to those tendencies. So my answer is no.
Nicole, right? Is that what you said?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, I'm
Jennifer.
so sorry. Jennifer,
Completely different.
I need to make note to not let that leave my brain when people say it. So Jennifer, what do you think? What would you say?
I Yeah, I agree with Santi. I don't think he's done enough to secure the spot. Like, I think he was good. Like, they thought it was maybe he was going to do better than he has done. I did, whatever they thought was going to happen has not happened. Like, they haven't. It's like we have all these good players, but like they can't get together. Like, I feel like they can't mesh right. There's something going on that's not connecting. I feel like they're not, and Hack hasn't put that, hasn't been like the glue or anything. I feel like there's something that's not connecting. I feel like.
Yeah. Jennifer, thank you so much for your question. We'll sign you off for now. And then feel free to come back later if you have another thought.
Okay.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Bye.
Bye. So I'll just want to add to that, and luckily I've been having these thoughts. Basically, I woke up thinking exactly about this real hard because it sucks to be Hackworth, to be put in the position he's been put in. And I think I saw someone post on X recently, the bottom 5 or 6 teams in MLS all have temporary coaches right now. So you can take that a lot of different ways. Yeah, the team already needed help. But also, talking about Minnesota, it was big for, Jeff Ruder was on the show on Thursday night. Yeah. And he was saying that Romney didn't get a preseason with the team and how rough it was at the beginning. And so we're looking at the same thing for Hackworth, who has clearly made a lot of changes, not just like adjustments, like a lot of changes, implementing a lot of new players. And he was just in a lose-lose situation, um, not having a preseason. So will he stay on? I don't think so. But he didn't get a fair shake, in my opinion. I think if he got a preseason, we'd see what his team really would look like, and he would maybe have time to solidify the defense with a consistent starting 11, a consistent back four for that matter, which you brought up in this episode, Santiago. So any other thoughts from you on that?
Yeah, it's still a small sample size, but yeah, we'll see what the team decides. Hopefully, I hope this is announced quickly. And my point is, like, preseason starts in January, and you need to have a coach by the end of the year or even earlier, so they can start planning for the season. And obviously, the team needs to make decisions on what players are staying, what players are leaving, and again, continuing looking at the market and bring 2 or 3 quality players during the winter transfer window, so it can compete at the beginning of the season instead of waiting until the summer transfer window, which this season was last season. I think was the team had 13 games after the Leagues Cup break. This time it was just 9 games, and the team just wasn't in a great position and needed a lot of points. So that put a lot of pressure. So and every team like good teams in MLS, if you look at the teams that are at the top of the table, they are proactive in both windows. So that's something that City needs to think about, and hopefully they are during this next transfer window.
Yes, and quickly, when do we think the decision will made? To Daniel's question, I'll just say that Nashville is taking 1 week off, and then they're going to start training for next year. I thought that was psychotic,
Oh
but
wow!
at least let's give it a couple of weeks, right? And then maybe everyone starts coming back in the front office and starts putting in long days and working hard. And I think at that point they start interviewing people, and within a couple of weeks, I think they'll have that decided if they interview people. Maybe it'll be faster. Maybe the answer is the sooner the announcement, the more likely Hackworth stays. What do you think, Santi?
Yeah, and it's possible that they have already started some of that process and interviewed some of the candidates,
True.
but yeah, I think whether it is Hakor staying or someone else coming in, the sooner you announce it, the better, because then you know like what type of coach he is, and kind of have an idea of how they like to play, and what kind of players they may need to bring in. So the sooner you start planning for 2025, the better, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
All right, we have two more questions. I think we'll cut it off right there, unless anyone wants to sign on one more time and have any last thoughts. But these are a great two. Robert Clark on YouTube asks, he's interested in our thoughts on Yaro's extension, which was announced in the last week. What do you think, Santi?
Yeah, that was a surprise to me. Jaro is gonna be a was supposed to be a free agent after the end of the season, and there were rumors about him going to San Diego. So my thought is this could be one of those moves, and I think about when the team exercise options for Jerry Stroud and Lucas Bartlett, that in the end they ended up trading them. This could be one of those moves. Maybe they sign this contract and they can use that as a tactic for negotiating with another team that wants Jaro. Obviously, the other thing is that San Diego, if Jaro is not protected in the expansion draft, San Diego could take him too, but he will be under contract, so his contract situation will be settled. So it could be one of those moves. You wanna use it as a negotiation tactic. I also know he has been a great leader for the team.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get a lot of playing time, especially this year. He hasn't played much, but he's valued as one of the leaders in the team, and I think the team appreciates that too. So if he stays, great, because you have that leadership. But I also see it as a tactic to negotiate with other teams.
Yeah, he got a goal against DC United, and I think he played in 8 games. I could be wrong about that. It was more than I realized. So he did play a good role this year. Um, Great guy off the field too. I mean, just an incredible guy to have in your locker room. A player that fans value as well. So really cool to sign him. Could we lose him to San Diego? Absolutely. So we'll see what happens. But I think it was the right move from the club. Good question. All right, Michael is joining us. Michael, what neighborhood do you hail from, or what county? Oops, we can't hear you.
Oh,
Sorry,
like
Michael.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yes. I grew up in University City, but I actually live in Honduras. So I'm a CONCACAF guy.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
yes.
What led to you
Yeah.
going there?
I've lived here for 26 years. I run an organization for street kids here in the capital city. So,
Lovely.
and because this is a soccer crazy country, I have a little Honduran supporters group going here for city. It's pretty fun
No
to
way.
watch all the games. Although last night was a little hard because Joseph Rosales is a Honduran, so there was a
Right.
little bit
Okay.
of split. Yeah, my question is just looking at City 2 and all the talent there, and with the potential of possibly bringing in a new coach next year and all that, like what's the balance between finding hugely talented international players but also giving time to the young guns, who are coming up and who've been developed by the system and all that. I feel like there's a bit of a tension there, and a new guy has to show wins, obviously. So, what do y'all think about that tension?
Santi?
Yeah, so City 2 obviously is a great
Yeah.
platform for the team to develop players. The one thing I keep going back to when I talk to other people about this is we have to remember MLS Next Pro is third division, so making that leap from third division to first division could be difficult sometimes, and it will require a player to have some adaptation time, unless they are like really good and can go to that next level really quickly. So I think what is missing, and this is something that the team you look at Miguel Perez, who was loaned to
Hmm.
Birmingham USL second division. He didn't get the playing time I think the team expecting him to get, but
Right.
I think going right from City 2 to the first team could be difficult, but you can continue that development and see if you can partner with a USL club on continue developing some of those players. Or another thing the team can do, although the MLS rules are not very good about this, just try to integrate some of those players more with the first team. Obviously, you only have four chances with the short-term loans, and if you put them in a game for 5 minutes, that also has some consideration because they can only appear in two games. But um, I think the team needs to continue working on that, and also on the academy. Obviously, this is an academy that was built from like from zero, so it's
Hmm.
hard to see. Like you can ask the team to have results right away, and I have said
Hmm.
before, like, oh, I think we're behind on that. But as I think about it a little bit more, like it's a process, and it's something that we will not see until probably GR 5 or 6, when you have some players that have gone from the 15 to the 16s to the 17s, hopefully to the City 2. Now the team has a U18 team, so I think that will also provide an additional platform for those players to compete. But it's a long process. But yeah, I would like to see more from City 2 and more opportunities
Yep.
for the young guns that are developing and are knocking on the door to get that chance with the first team.
Michael, what do you
Yeah.
think, or what would your preference be? Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, as I'm a new MLS fan since City came in last year, and you know, coming out first in our inaugural season in the West, and then seeing us down at 12th on season two, obviously wins, wins are pretty cool. So
Right.
I understand the need, for Lutz and company to look for talent immediately. But I was actually going to ask Santi about Miguel Perez when his loan is up. Do you think he'll come back? Do you think he'll be a
Mhm.
starter? You think he'll be on the roster?
I hope he is with the team. I think sending him to Birmingham was good for him to be away from St. Louis, be away from his family. Obviously, playing time wasn't there, but I think it was a good experience for him. I hope he gets a chance at least to compete in training camp, to
Mhm.
be on the roster, and he showed good things last year, and I know fans are kind of 50-50 on what he did last year, but I think he was on the right track. Then he got injured, obviously, when some of the players that were brought on the summer transfer window last year came.
Mhm.
His possibilities to be in the roster and in the lineups went down, and he was sent to City 2, got injured, so it wasn't a good ending of the season for him. But I hope he's brought to camp and competes, and hopefully he will earn his spot with the experience he gained in Birmingham.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys. As a newbie to MLS, you all have been my MLS Bible for the last couple of years. So I appreciate all you do and keep up the good work.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Michael.
Michael. Appreciate it.
Sure thing. Have a good day.
Oops, sorry, Michael. I cut him off a
You
little bit
cut
at
him
the end
off.
there. But how cool is that Michael is doing such good, like cool work in Honduras, but also listening to us and also watching and starting a fan club for St. Louis City. I love that. And it reminded me there's something I meant to read this early on because it's such a cool situation. But we got to give a shout out to Mindy, who's flying home from Prague today.
Yeah.
And she was on Matt Baker's flight from Frankfurt. So she woke up 3 a.m., watched the game, and she came and said hi to Matt in the airport and is a listener of Live Footy. How amazing is that? Very cool.
I
Thanks, Mindy.
hope Matt had some flyover footy stickers to give her.
Oh my
Otherwise, we
gosh.
will have to find her and give her some. But yeah, that's great. It's always great when you run into a listener, like around City Park or even at an airport, like Matt did this time. So yeah, it's great to hear from our listeners. I was giving Matt a hard time. I have actually, like, after the game, I didn't think about fly over Fallout in the morning, and then I saw a tweet from Matt saying, "Oh, I feel bad for Phil and Santi that had to talk about this game." And my first thought, I had not seen the previous tweets. I was like, Why are you awake?" But it just turns
No
out
surprise.
that he had an early flight, and he
Yeah,
was keeping an eye on City. Even if he didn't have a flight, he will have probably just woken up and
I think so.
followed
Yes.
the game.
Yes. I want to say one thing really fast that Michael mentioned how often you can play the kids versus, playing the high end guys, development versus wins. Like something I saw last night that just want you guys to start thinking about because we'll cover this in the off season. But I think it was Kai Wagner from Philadelphia Union. It might have been someone else from that organization. They're known for developing young players, tons of homegrowns. They're selling guys to Europe. They're giving young players a lot of time. And he mentioned that they're having a hard time winning with so many homegrowns. So looking at the problem, Santiago, you mentioned that they were a little late in getting in. St. Louis was a little late upgrading the roster because they thought it would work and it didn't happen. So just something to be thinking about. Feels like there's a chance with the upgrade in quality in MLS that this era of homegrowns could be waning. It could be going away. And it might be harder and harder to get homegrown players into games for all clubs, not just St. Louis, but even clubs like Dallas and Philadelphia. So just something to be watching. It may not be true. It's just something I was thinking about. Last thing we're going to end on here is wait, who asked it? Sorry. Bring back Tim Parker on X asks, what do you think this lineup looks like with a healthy Celio and Ostrak?
Mm.
Great question to end on. We'll give a quick lineup, and I think we'll have to include super subs in this case, but I don't know what you think, Santi.
Yeah, it's difficult to at least, I don't know, at least to me. I think my first thought will be to use them as super subs. I don't think neither of them will be starters to begin with. They
Sure.
can earn that starting role once they start getting some playing time and show good performances. But it's tough because they missed half or more of the season, and um, I think based on the extent of the injury, Celio may not be ready for the beginning of the season. That's still TBD. But yeah, you have to integrate them and see how they do. But my first thought is both of them being super subs, as you mentioned.
Agree. A good example from last night was we saw Thor come on, and I wasn't able to track that closely. I failed miserably. I failed you guys on that one because I did mean to kind of figure out where Thor was playing, and before I realized what was going on, as I was keeping notes, JGR was on, and I had forgotten to look. So, but it would have been nice if Hartle went back to the 8 or the 6, which is what I think happened. It might have been nice to have Ostrak there to be able to slip between 9 and 8, or sorry, the 10 or the 8 and keep Hartle high, or vice versa, have someone like Ostrak high and see what he can do, or even We saw that Celio could play if we ended up using 3 center backs to try to win a game, push everyone forward. We saw that Celio could play as a wing back just fine. So those are just 2 thoughts. Like, it just gives us more diversity of talent and skills with those players. And I think even last night we would have been better with even one of those guys. Hack would have had a lot more flexibility. So
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Either of those guys will have been a big boost. But yeah, Hack or the new coach will have a big problem once both of these guys are healthy and ready to go. Lots of decisions to be made on the offensive side of the ball. Who starts and maybe at the beginning of the season we will see different lineups, different formations to see who will be part of the best lineup for the team. But yeah, hopefully both of them come back healthy and get the rhythm they need to be competitive and compete for those spots.
well, I very much enjoyed this episode. I'm glad we were able to bring some people on. I'm glad we focused on the chat. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for listening all over the world. That was a fun discovery today. So that is the final fallout of the season, of the 2024 season. It's a sad day in a lot of ways. It's also sad that it's the last one, but we do have a lot to look forward to next year. I think Santi and I and Matt too, I'll speak for him, that we are excited about next year based on what's happened already. So, we're going to hit up all the deep dives, all the conversations about what could happen in the off season. Matt's back in the next episode, so look forward to that very much. We'll see you guys soon. Santi, any last thoughts before we go with the final fallout? You're the fallout guy. I'm just filling in here. So
Yeah, no, it was great to do. We started this last year, like mid-season, so it was great to do it consistently every week. Thanks for everyone who joins us in the morning early with their coffee, and uh, everyone like makes great comments on the chat. So we hope to continue doing this year for everybody, and maybe doing what we did today, trying to integrate
yes,
listeners. So yeah, we'll be tinkering with that next year, and yeah, just excited about next year, and excited about also getting some rest on Sunday mornings, and not having to worry about waking up early or getting ready for this. But yeah, we'll miss doing this, and we will miss our listeners.
indeed. All right, City 2 today at 2 p.m. Make sure you get there. Enjoy that game. Hopefully, more playoffs to come from City 2. And if you run into us, of course, say hello. Give us some comments. Tell us what you think of the season and the off season. I love to hear that stuff. It helps keep me on track and gets me some